Everybody loves Avatar. It was a huge hit when it originally aired, and maybe an even bigger hit when it was added to streaming services during that thing that's been happening over the past few years. Really, the only place Avatar hasn't gotten a lot of love is video games. But since Elden Ring lets you make all sorts of characters, you could kind of make it an Avatar game. And of course, if you're building a bender, you should start with the best one. Toph. Today I'm continuing my quest to find the most fun build in Elden Ring. If you want to watch the runs live, join my Patreon at the $1 tier. I could do it on Twitch, but that's $5 per subscription and I already have a Patreon. Hopefully, it saves people some dough. Now let's start building with a rock solid foundation. We're kicking things off as a prophet. It has the highest faith of any starting class, which will kind of matter but also won't, just like the blindfold we have. Toph is blind. I tried my best in the character creator to get Toph looking right, but the straight line mouth and straight line noses of 2D Avatar look a little freaky in the 3D Elden Ring, and since he can't control the height of the character, we just end up looking a little long. Since we don't have any earthbending yet, we don't fight the grafted scion. Instead, we do an impression of an airbender and jump off a cliff. Unfortunately, we don't have the gliders that they do. Thankfully, we're rescued by an avatar and awakened in a cave in Lim Grave. R.I.P. Lim. But I'm different. We run up to the Gatefront Grace where this incarnation of the Avatar gives us her sky bison. Appa can't fly and isn't a bison in this game, but the dogs in Elden Ring are green and have hard shells. There's just some artistic license going on. We'll take a little artistic license ourselves, saving this potman with a special form of earthbending, butt stabs. Then we scoop past the Tibia Mariner, but not for long. Just wait, we'll rattle his bones soon enough. First, we need to go to Caelid, which apparently impresses the Avatar so much she takes us to the Round Table Hold. We don't need to do that yet, so we just head back to Caelid and ride to the impassable Great Bridge Grace. Another thing we're putting a pause on for now. Back up to the Tibia Mariner, still not fighting him, instead hopping down to a church that will warp us to the Badger Mole headquarters in Caelid. This big old Badger Mole wants to eat some bones and will teach us earthbending if we bring him bones. But we don't have any earthbending abilities to kill skeletons to get bones to feed the Badger Mole. So what to do? Well, first we ride down to Fort Pharaoh for a Golden Rune 12. Then we get bitten by a mean Badger Mole. After that, we avoid some dragons to buy a pair of gloves from the isolated merchant. Toph is great in hand-to-hand combat, but trust me, this is not going to be the same as the Batman run. I mean, it's going to be similar, but there's a difference. A difference that rocks. South of the impassable Great Bridge Grace, there's a teardrop scarab rolling some dookie around. And that is the real premium top-tier dookie. Bashing it open gives us the Cragblade Ash of War, which allows you to plunge your weapon into the ground and rip them out coated in chunks of earth. It's the same thing Radahn will do to his swords later, but Toph doesn't have swords. She has boxing gloves. Now they become Rock Sling gloves. With proper earthbending fighting styles acquired, we grab the Limgrave Pickle and slay the dragon for a great load of early game runes. We're investing them mostly in vigor for some comfort early game and then strength. Since Cragblade is a heavy Ash of War, it removes the dex scaling of the boxing gloves and increases the strength scaling instead. It also boosts our physical damage resistances more and will have a third use once we start training with that Badger Mole. So let's go get that good boy some bones. First, we stomp that Tibia Mariner. He's been living too large for too long. The Tibia Mariner is the easiest recurring boss in the game. Not only is he slow as heck, when he does end up attacking, he usually ends up killing his own skeletons while you have enough time to run away. What a fool. One death root acquired. Inside the death-touched catacombs, we can find the second death root we need, but the boss guarding it is a little trickier, the Black Knife Assassin. She's pretty fast, hits relatively hard, and likes to dive in and out of our attacks, but since she starts with less than full health for some reason, and we have Rock Sling gloves, it's not too hard. Now we can go get the Claw Mark Seal to cast incantations, and the Bestial Sling incantation to be the incantation that we cast. It throws a bunch of rocks forward, pretty simple. The interesting part is how the Claw Mark Seal scales. Unlike other sacred seals, it scales equally with strength and faith. So the stat we're using for our Rock Sling gloves will also work to make our rock tossing better. Pickle time. Nirgis is easy. Our Rock Sling gloves hit wicked hard, pretty fast, and bleed, all with no upgrades so far. We don't even need help from Mira, it's just that easy. Inside the Murkwater Tunnel, we can open up the chest to unlock Momo, by far the most powerful spirit ash in the game. Unless someone came by and... Oh no, all my apes are gone! We'll beat up Patches for hacking our totally secure and cool investment, but he offers us up some pickles and a recipe for pickles if we don't murder him. Sounds good to me. Toph is a big fan of pickles. They boost your experience. Before we go battle Margit, let's upgrade our Rock Sling gloves a little bit. The Limgrave tunnel is the fastest way to do that. Just avoid the miners and keep digging down. At the bottom, the Stone Digger troll cannot handle the power of the Rock Sling gloves, gets staggered almost instantly. I also wanted to show off the Bestial Sling. It's great at hitting taller enemies in the face while keeping the poise pressure up. I didn't need to kill this guy, but it's probably faster than riding the elevator back up. With our gloves up to +3, I head up the path to the Margit boss fight and decide not to summon Rajir. Bringing a buddy makes the enemy health bar longer, and I figured our Rock Sling gloves would be strong enough to carry us through. I kinda underestimated and ended up getting comboed to death. It would definitely be possible to do it without summoning, but there's no real reason not to. Just cheat, not only the game, but yourself. And bring a buddy. Rajir is great because he keeps the pressure up on Margit. Every boss has an invisible posture health bar that takes damage every time they get hit. Different hits deal different amounts of damage, but every moment you're not hitting, the bar starts to heal. The extra help you get from a friend hammering at Margit's back while you hammer at his front leads to the posture getting broken faster, allowing you to hit a big old critical. Pay attention to that. It's going to be really important as the run moves on.
On the road again. Just can't wait to get on the road again.
Margit dies and gives us another talisman pouch, so we need another talisman. Since we're not going to be wearing a lot of armor and will deal exclusively physical damage, I think we're going to go grab the Blue Dancer charm. That's at the bottom of the High Road Cave, which I definitely remember how to navigate through. At least this boss is easy. The Guardian Golem might have some different moves than the overworld giants, but if he does, he doesn't have time to use them. Our rock hands are super effective against his rock ankles. Takes less than 30 seconds. Now we'll ride over to Lernia and hook a sharp right after we hit the lake to enter the Stillwater Cave. It's full of poison floors, Miranda flowers that shoot poison, and dudes who shoot their own poison beam things. But this isn't my first rodeo. This is my second rodeo. The only other time I've done this cave before was when I ran through it in the practice run. At the bottom, there's a Clean Rot Knight. These gals love chillin' in poison swamps, guarding useful talismans, and bullying Tarnished who just have to walk through the Miyazaki special. But I didn't get poisoned in that cave. I just got pissed off. The Blue Dancer charm is kind of shown off here. It boosts your physical damage when you're at certain weight thresholds. After around 30, it's virtually useless. But we're down at 15 pounds, so we're getting somewhere around a 12% boost. Mixing with the Cragblade, that makes the Rock Sling gloves hit wicked hard, and killing Clean Rot Knight gives us the Winged Sword insignia, which will boost us up even higher. Eventually, that'll increase our damage with longer combos, when I remember to put it on. Back up to Lernia, we run around the lake to grab all the smithing stones we can find. Then we dig deep in the Raya Lucaria crystal tunnel for even more. There's kind of a tradition here to spend all of our flasks diving through the tunnel and having to fight the Crystallian with nothing left. That didn't happen this time since I just beat everyone up on the way down, so I have plenty of healing for the boss. Not that I needed it though. The Crystallian is weak to bludgeoning. We deal bludgeoning. A lot of bludgeoning. Easy peasy. To push our gloves even further, we'll have to run through the swamps that will one day be our home, then up the ruin-strewn precipice, where we'll get all the smithing stones we can. By the end of things, we'll cap out at around +13 for the next little bit of the game. Then we head to a familiar place to punch a familiar face. Back in Caelid lies the Abandoned Cave. It's pretty much the Stillwater Cave, but worse in every way. Stillwater Cave has poison, the Abandoned Cave has rot. The Stillwater Cave ends with a Clean Rot Knight, the Abandoned Cave ends with 2. First time we hit the boss, we're already rotted and poisoned, so our health is dropping fast. Even with that massive penalty, we're still able to bash in the first one, but the second one isn't gonna work. Second time we come through, it's very smooth. No rot, no poison, no more Clean Rot Knights. They drop the Golden Scarab Talisman, which boosts our rune acquisition. Now we can start aiming for the big boys. First, the evil avatar. Most avatars are the reincarnation of the previous avatar. Godric just cut off some other bender's limbs and glued them to himself. Apparently that works too. Making it through Stormvale Castle is easy. I have excellent dodging skills. Don't look at that. Godric as a boss is not hard. Sure, he's got airbending, earthbending, and firebending, but no waterbending. No RPG ever respects water. Too bad for him, since rock types are 4 times super effective against a fire flying type, and I guess also a ground type, but that wouldn't resist rock. 1 shard bearer down. For number 2, we need to kill a dragon first. Back at the ruin-strewn precipice, there's a magma worm that's so easy, my controller died twice. But I didn't. The magma worm is slain. This build really rocks, pun fully intended. Up the elevator, touch the Grayson Altus, and then we can go for shard bearer number 2, the inventor of the Sock'em Rockers himself, Starscourge Radon. Warping back to the impassable Great Bridge, we can meet with the rest of the gang and head to the battlefield to fight the general. My strategy is to Cragblade him and not get Cragbladed myself. It doesn't work the first couple of times, but the third time is the charm, as they say, and the whole gang manages to put some serious posture pressure on. We all stagger Radahn and end up putting him at a third of his health for phase 2. Always a good idea. The less time you can spend in phase 2, the better. It's way harder. With that shortened second phase, we're able to smash Radahn in under 2 hours. I wish. It was actually around 2 hours even. That's 2 Shardbearers defeated, which means we can enter Ba Sing Se, technically. But first, I want some friends. The friends are easy to get. I just need to ride around Altus until I can grab the giant rat ashes, which will be our badger moles. Worth pointing out, not only did we get through 2 Shardbearers in 2 hours, we did it with no spirit ashes. Toph is so incredibly strong. She's going faster than anything else we've built at this point. Now we need to run some errands. We pop into the sealed tunnel for the smithing stone bell bearing 2, then immediately leave. Next, we kill another Tibia Mariner. The one in Altus can summon a giant skeleton that shoots a Death Star laser. He's still really easy, so I'm gonna use this as an opportunity to explain why this fight kinda doesn't matter. In the practice run, I grabbed enough Death Root for more beast incantations. There's the Beast Claw, which sends a shockwave forward through the ground. Gurank's Beast Claw, which does the same thing in a circular pattern around you, and the Stone of Gurank, which is just a big old boulder that you throw. Running around to grab the Death Root to grab those spells takes a lot of time, and honestly, it's just not worth it. The problem is, they're slow. I invested in Dex. I grabbed Radagon's Icon. They're still slow, and we're not wearing enough armor to tank through hits and trade damage. At the end of the practice run, I was still just using the sling. It's the fastest, it does comparable damage, and has decent enough range. So for this run, I just didn't waste my time. The Tibia Mariner is just fast and gives some decent runes, so, I killed them anyway. It's also on the way to the Windham Catacombs, which we'll be running through for some grave gloveworts, and crank open the boss door to fight the Erd Tree Burial Watchdog. This funky looking monster is the lightning version. It's got an awkwardly animated chop that's kinda hard to dodge, but it's made of rocks. We control rocks. It dies. In death, it rewards us with the Glovewort Bell Bearing, which we can use to upgrade our rats. Next errand is acquiring a proper outfit, which is a random drop. Oh god. Back in Stormvale Castle, there's a silver foul foot we can grab to boost drop rates. Then it's back to Lernia to bully a perfumer. Boy howdy, I hate the perfumers. They throw big areas of fire, and they're never stunned until their poise is fully broken. So farming them for a robe that has a 3% drop rate? It's not great. Thankfully, the item discovery boost from the Silver Foulfoot doesn't go away when you rest at the Grace and reset the enemy encounters. So we've got 3 minutes of farming before things get bad. Unfortunately, we don't get it. In the practice run, this took a full half hour, but I actually got it 1 minute after the Foulfoot ran out. That's actually pretty lucky. Well, not totally lucky. We still have to wear this crappy armor. Why is it bad? It's just really light and therefore doesn't have great resistances. And we're also not wearing any head armor or armor. Armor? For now, it's fine. We're gonna be dealing enough damage that it doesn't matter. Look at this fight against the demi-human chiefs. Look at that damage.
Now that's a lot of damage!
I like it. We beat them for a sewing kit to take the cape off our perfumer robe. Now we can upgrade the rats since we have enough runes, which is 0 runes. The giant rat spirit ashes don't require any runes to level up or any magic to summon. They're just friends who bite things. Like the Draconic Tree Sentinel. The big damage is still coming from us, but the badger moles act as a good distraction. They're also keeping that posture from resetting, which means that this guy is not going to have a second to recover until he kills all the moles. That's the downside. They have precious little HP and they get absolutely demolished by any AoE attacks, but by the time they're dead, the Tree Sentinel is low and we can bash it to death. Into Ba Sing Se. There is actually no chill in Ba Sing Se, but there is Boomy for some reason. Hopefully we get Omashu DLC. For now, it's just the ghost of Boomy, swinging a big axe and making a bunch of rocks pop out of the ground. Wish I could do that. Surprisingly, we have a little trouble here. While the perfumer robe does help our blue dancer charm, it does not help our getting hit with an axe stat. But eventually our hitting someone with rock stat is enough to bring us through. Dying against the Boomy ghost was a bit worrisome, so I want to go out of our way and do a bit of grinding or rock polishing. Our polished rocks are great against killing dragons like this one on the bridge. We can target their heads, which take way more posture damage and damage in general, then they fall down and I punch them. Easy 100k runes. While that pickle is active, I'm going to try and get the putrid avatar nearby, but I'm not able to get it done. This is where our weapon starts to show some issues. See how I'm jump attacking attacking its tummy, but its tummy is pushing me back, and then it doesn't take damage because it makes me miss? That's really bad. Our arms officially have negative reach. Not too much of an issue, a couple more tries and we get some free levels. This is still an amazingly strong build. Strong enough to beat Morgoth first try? Let's find out. We bring the Avatar. We bring the rats. Morgoth brings a long stick and laser swords. Those are pretty good. But that's when I realized that beating the ghost version of Boomy gave us another pocket and I forgot to put something in it. So after I die a quick field trip, I go beat the demi-human queen to death in less than 30 seconds and grab the ritual sword talisman for 10% extra damage when we're at full health. That pairs with the extra damage from the blue dancer charm, the Rock Sling gloves, and the winged sword insignia, which we'll actually be using now. Just realized I haven't really shown that off yet. It just boosts your damage the longer your combo goes on. Now that's gonna do enough damage to get us the W, which should open up the Erd tree so we can fight Vattu. Except Vattu locks it down. The Avatar has a plan though. She wants to burn the tree down. Sounds like a Kyoshi move. She's an earthbender, but burn it down with our enemies inside is a very Kyoshi strategy. So we need to get a firebender and rectify the biggest issue with the Last Airbender series. Toph never has a life-changing field trip with Zuko. Zuko is up with the Northern Water Tribe. After Aang and May passed away, Zuko and Katara invested more time into their friendship and rekindled a bit of that romance. Both knew they weren't necessarily each other's soulmates, but they meant a lot to each other, and the chemistry was definitely there. It was just nice to have someone to care for while they entered their golden years. Oh, sorry, I was reading my fanfic. Click, click. Back to the script. I upgraded the gloves. Zuko is in the Giant's Mountaintops catacombs. The only glove wart we need is in the Azula side tomb. It's a 6, kind of a rare breed. I kill another dragon for enough runes, unlike the badger moles. Zuko needs a bit of money. The rot dragon, whose name I'm not going to even try to say, lives in Caelid. Just like that other dragon, we throw rocks at his face, then punch him to death. God, that kicks ass. Oops, I accidentally upgraded the rats. At least I didn't have to use runes. Back to the Azula side tomb, and then we upgrade Zuko. It makes sense that Zuko would level up after visiting his sister's grave. She's the worst. That last dragon was pretty easy, so as I'm scooting up the mountaintop of the giants, I decided to try and fight Borealis for the first time. I didn't fight them in my practice run, I didn't fight them in any other run. This is literally my first fight against them. So that's why I didn't realize that their roar stun locks you, frostbites you, kills the horse, and continues to hit you on the ground after your horse dies. I was about to give up, but I gave it one more shot. After all, I can throw rocks at the dragon's face, then punch it so hard it dies. How could I not do that? As I bragged about my runes, I realized nobody watching the stream could see my runes, ever. My face cam was blocking them in every video I've recorded so far. Now it's in the top right corner. Tell me if you hate that. The boss of the mountaintop of the giants is fittingly not a giant. It's Okina. Since he's just an NPC, I try throwing rocks at him to stop him from doing anything ever and eventually win. Wow, turns out the NPCs in the game are really easy to kill with rocks. I wonder if that will matter later. Really weird choice for this Avatar game. They resurrected Ozai and stretched him out a lot. Zuko might not seem like a great pick to fight this fire giant since he does fire, but if our other option is the badger moles who die in a single hit, Zuko is more useful by being any amount of useful. Remember when I said our armor was bad? At 40 vigor, the fire giant can one-shot us. He is not the last boss. Uh-oh. It's not too bad though. He's slow enough to dodge most of the time and I can throw rocks at his weak points in phase 2. Not that weak point. His eye and his wrists. That will stagger him so I can get the critical hit, which is shoving my arms into his eye all the way down my goddamn shoulder. Oh god, yes, this is the best build ever. It will never be bad.
Got me crumbling down, baby, brick by brick.
Zuko teaches the Avatar firebending so she can burn down a big tree. We get warped to a crumbling castle for some reason. It's the perfect visual metaphor for what is about to happen to this once great build. Good lord. The Godskin duo were extra ridiculous this time. I complain about them a lot. I haven't seen a lot of people arguing that they're a good boss. Nobody argues that they're good, but there are a few people who argue that if you lose to them, you are bad, which is not true, gamer. If you lose to the Godskin duo, you are correct. This time, I'm gonna choose to complain about the rolling attack. If you think the rolling attack is fine to dodge, you just have to use the pillars. No, sometimes he just goes over the pillar. If you can dodge it without the pillar, that's great, except you can't. He's just gonna keep rolling until he hits you. It's just gonna roll and 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 roll forever until you're dead. Sometimes though, he will stop to do sword swings in the middle of the roll instantly. There's no visual transition between the rolling animation and the sword swing. At least you get to summon summon Bernal, unless, he just focuses on the dudes outside the arena and leaves you to fight everyone by yourself. That would be rough. Also, you do get to run past 2 dudes who will kill us in 3 hits. See, it's great. It's so fun. But the saving grace is that killing 1 Godskin at least lets you fight 1 at a time until the living one raises its fingers and snaps. So you've just got to kill it fast enough. Except actually, no, look at this. Okay, I am fighting Skinny. Bernal is fighting Chunky. Bernal kills Chunky. You can see Skinny has not snapped. He does not have enough time to snap because Chunky comes back immediately after he dies. Anyway, this is the one I won after 8 deaths. 25% of our deaths so far to 1 boss. That was rough. So quick field trips. First, Giant Conquering Hero's Grave for Glove War to 9 and to 10, and we can use that Sticky Icky to get Zuko higher in level. Then down to the Weeping Peninsula for some Golden Seeds, Sacred Tears, and a Dead Erd Tree Avatar for 2 physical options that I forget to use. I should make a joke for the Erd Tree Avatar being an avatar in this Avatar video, but he's a tree bender. Back to Faramazula. I actually landed the swag jump first try, no big deal, grabbed the Dragon Crest Shield Talisman for physical resistance, and got killed by a Beastman just before the elevator. I make it back, and I kill the Draconic 3 Sentinel first try. Screw you and the fire-bending horse you rode in. Time for more suffering. The badger mole who taught us earthbending has turned evil. It's the narrative conclusion to everything we've done so far. It's also the conclusion to anything that I would consider fun. In the practice run I did, Malekith was literally half the time. I didn't have Zuko yet in that run, so hopefully starting with the better Spirit Ash and all that practice will help. The biggest issue is just our stumpy little arms. Remember when we were fighting that avatar, how we'd slide off its body, but still miss our jumping attack? That's gonna happen here again, and more than ever. Malekith is just diagonally shaped and fast enough that his front is always what's facing you. Because of that, he's angled backwards, so our arms don't stretch out far enough to hit him. This is how it is in phase 1 and phase 2. That means that we have to get to his butt, except to do that, we need to outspeed him, which we can't. He's faster than us. So we need Zuko to distract him. Zuko is, however, afraid of him. Several runs, Zuko would literally hide from the boss. Like, buddy, I'm scared of Malekith too, but he's not going anywhere until we beat him together. Phase 1 is beaten with raw aggression from rocks and gloves and poise breaking. Phase 2, I just need to get very, very good. In other videos, I said you should run behind him after he jumps on his sword to bait him into backflipping. Our weapon is too small to hit him like that. So we need to bait him into doing the front flip AoE, but get behind him while he's front flipping, because if I miss, I die. This is where having the armor of a wet napkin is killing us. While we were using the same weapon as Batman, we don't have the raptor feathers. Honestly, those aren't good at damage reduction either, but they're leagues ahead of a robe that a potion maker would use. This is the worst armor we've had so far. We die to everything. Eventually, I was able to beat the boss just by getting good and not getting hit. On only 5 deaths, actually. I guess the practice paid off. Personally, I miss when FromSoft games had easy bosses.
Here comes the, no, here comes the, oh, here comes the, y'all don't really want it like.
We get warped to Ba Sing Se, which is now covered in sand. As an earthbender, that just makes us more powerful. Getting an Ofnir is easy. Thank God, I needed that. I throw rocks at him, don't let him heal, and he dies. It's great. Practice against Dokina really helped, but it's Ofnir. It shouldn't be hard. Boomy is not easy. Boomy is hard. It's not for any complicated reason. He's just as fast as a truck and hits like a truck. Eventually, I figure out that phase 2 is for rocks, just like Virginia is for lovers. Boomy drops his axe and goes full earthbender, which means that's what we should do too. Since his reach is lower, but his speed is higher, abuse that and throw rocks at him while keeping your distance. If you don't keep your distance, he's gonna throw you up in the air and tear you in half with his bare hands. It's honestly the coolest. I got killed 8 times by this dude, and I still cheer every time he rips me in half. Horaloo is my favorite late game boss. He's the best balance of difficulty, fun mechanics, cool lore, and badass design. I beat him and am rewarded with a boss soul that I can use for Horaloo's Earthshaker. You slam your hands into the ground and create this awesome shockwave. It's perfect for an earthbender, but it's really only useful to clear out big waves of enemies. You get it right before the final boss? Hey, why? I guess the real reward though is getting to fight a much worse boss. Vattu is the final boss of the game, guarded by Radagon. Really cool dude. He's fun and hard, and the clear antagonist throughout the whole game. But just like season 2 of Korra, the game says, well, we forgot about that, and we made the hero fight an anonymously evil space slug. I love Korra, but season 2 is the weakest, and the space slug is part of that. I activate a Great Rune and try to finish this off in under 6 hours. Then I realize, I don't have any Great Runes. Shoot. that means that I've got to do this with my base stats. I made it through Radagon, but died to the slug. God, I hate this slug. All right, let's take a detour to Limgrave, ride up the elevator, and activate Godric's Great Rune. It'll give us +5 to every stat. I know I could beat the slug without the buff, but it's gonna be a lot easier with the buff. Now I'm gonna do the same thing I did with the Godskin duo. Win, but complain a lot first. Nobody likes the Elden Beast, but there are some people who like to blame the player instead of the boss. Elden Beast complainers, like moi, like to say that the boss is RNG based. Defenders say that his moveset is based on AI, and you can control his moves. Okay, boss, what the hell is he swinging at here? The only thing you can actually anticipate is the start of the fight is Dragon Breath, and he won't use Elden Stars until he hits a certain HP threshold. That's what you know. There's also this great Rain of Light attack that completely nukes your HP, but if you sprint, you can outrun it. Unless, just no, it doesn't work sometimes. Sometimes when he uses that one, he also uses a blade beam that you have to roll through, but rolling will stop you from sprinting, so you'll get hit by those first lasers and die. And sometimes he sends out Elden Stars, which you literally can't dodge. You will take damage from it. It might not be a lot of damage all the time, but sometimes it is, but you're gonna take damage from it. And while it's up, he can use other moves, like the breath attack, which can linger long enough that its hitbox is still activated while he sends out the blade beams. This fight is a lottery. The best thing you can do is hit it as hard as you can to try and end the lottery early. So with my last rune arc, I also eat a holy proof dried liver to raise my holy resistance, and exalted flesh to boost my damage. Elden Beast, prepare yourself. I didn't make it to the Elden Beast. Radagon decided to use a combo of moves I've never seen. He throws his darts and then charges forward to wherever I rolled to avoid the darts, and he did that 3 times. But the next run, with nothing but an enormous feeling of salt bubbling within me, I was able to win. No change in strategy. I just got lucky enough after dying 15 times. That's 25% of my total deaths. Remember when I said I knew I didn't need rune arcs? Yeah, that's because I didn't have one when I won. Or when I won in the practice run, when I beat it in my first try, 10 levels lower. You don't get better at the Elden Beast. You just get lucky. Overall, we won at 6 hours and 50 minutes with 29 bosses defeated and 60 deaths. Up until the Fire Giant, this was the fastest build with the least amount of deaths. Now it's the second slowest behind Link and tied with Link for most deaths. So what happened? The weapon's great. Cragblade mixing with a fast weapon like the Cestus does a lot of damage and breaks posture super fast. It's really amazing. The Bestial Sling is also great. It's a great way to put a ranged option on a strength build since you only need 10 faith to use it with the Clawmark Seal. The only issue is the armor. We had no defense whatsoever and just died so goddamn fast. Not an issue in the early game when we can just deal enough damage to kill the bosses before they can hit us, but once the boss's health bars get larger, it's a problem. Still, it's an hour and a half faster than Link. I don't feel right putting it in the same tier. Link, welcome to D tier. Sorry, buddy. Toph, welcome to C tier. God, I want to wear armor next time. If you want to watch that next run, join my Patreon. That's where I stream these. And if you want to watch me build some other characters in Dungeons and Dragons, check out my other channel. I've done that over 400 times.